Assalamu alaikum. Once again, inshallah, we gather on this great day, Al-Quds Day, International Quds Day, exposing the war crimes of the Israeli government over the last 16 months, where you have seen this genocidal onslaught taking place in Gaza, where over 90% of the infrastructure in Gaza has been damaged or destroyed. Houses, hospitals, schools, mosques, churches, even water reservoirs, and even aid trucks at a time when, according to Amnesty International, 93% of the population in Gaza is starving. You see that even Israeli hostages are not safe from the bombardment of this genocidal entity. They do not even care about their own people, so what do Palestinians mean for them? Nothing. And this is why over 70% of the people killed in Gaza are women and children. This is why, for example, you find countless cases of children in Gaza with sniper bullet wounds in their chest and in their head. This has been exposed to the world. You find cases, so many cases of doctors, nurses, ambulance workers, specifically targeted by the Israeli army. In the year 2024, more journalists were killed in Gaza than the entire world put together. Now just think about this. The Gaza Strip is so tiny. More journalists killed in this one tiny piece of land than the entire world put together. And these actions are not isolated from the Israeli government. The genocidal remarks, the genocidal orders come straight from the top administration when they say things like, we are fighting Amalek, we are fighting human animals, there are no uninvolved civilians. This isn't a war against Hamas, Islamic Jihad, or Hezbollah. This is a war against the entire population of Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, the Islamic world. This is an aim to depopulate, to expand. Now, our responsibility, of course, is to expose these truths, this agenda to commit genocide, to have this expansionism and occupation by equipping ourselves with the right kind of knowledge, by raising awareness to the people around us, as my dear brothers mentioned before me, speaking to the university leaders, the university groups, mobilizing student unions, mobilizing protests, campaigns, petitions, and at the same time sharing content from social media, creating content on social media that can grab large audiences and galvanize the pro-Palestinian movement. Many of the people in the movement are casual, passive listeners. We have to activate and energize those pro-Palestinian contingents, inshallah. Now, one thing to point out, the Israeli soldiers themselves, they make this job very easy for us because they expose their war crimes with pride on social media. On platforms like TikTok, for example, you have Israeli soldiers that are openly dressing up in women's lingerie, who are playing with children's toys. These are women and children who have been killed or displaced by their genocidal army. You have a video of Israeli soldiers raping a Palestinian prisoner to death in Sdeit Eiman concentration camp. Again, these acts are not isolated. These are proven to be systemic to the Israeli military, as confirmed by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, both of whom have rightfully declared Israel actions in Gaza as a genocide. Once again, these people, they do the work for us. All we have to do is share everything that they display, and it speaks for itself. Now, one final point I want to make, inshallah, before I wrap up. If we ever find ourselves in conversation with bad faith actors, whether it's activists or people in the mainstream media especially, who keep trying to divert attention away from the genocide, who keep asking you, condemn this, condemn that, reframe that conversation entirely. We are not here to speak on their terms. We have to speak on our terms. We have to draw attention towards the genocide, because when these people prioritize the deaths of 1,200 Israelis over the deaths of possibly 200,000 Palestinians. These are numbers according to the Lancet Institute. What does that tell you? It tells you that they value one Israeli life more than 200 Palestinian lives. And this racism and bigotry is at the heart of the mainstream media. We have to expose this bias, this evil, to the entire world. Now, just to finish up, we have to ask the right kind of questions. We have to ask, do you really think it's okay to commit genocide, occupation, apartheid, mass murder, rape, torture, and abuse of prisoners? Do you really believe that this is okay because you think God promised the land to the Jews 3,000 years ago? Isn't this hijacking? Isn't this exploiting a religion entirely? The same way ISIS and Al-Qaeda exploit Islam. They try and gaslight us into believing that, or they try and gaslight people into believing that the pro-Palestinian movement is somehow anti-Jewish. This is not the case. It's an anti-occupation movement. It's an anti-genocide, anti-apartheid movement. It's a pro-humanitarian movement. And many of the people at the forefront of pro-Palestinian activism, as one of the brothers was mentioning before from Italy, they are Jewish themselves. People like Gabor Mate, who is a Holocaust survivor, his son Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, I can list name after name, organization after organization. Once again, we have to reframe that narrative entirely, focus attention where it belongs, and never let them hijack the narrative, inshallah. And by doing this, we can really build momentum into the pro-Palestine movement. Jazakumullah khairan, dear brothers, for organizing this incredible event. May Allah bless you, and inshallah, may the Palestinians be free, and inshallah our regions can be free all over the Islamic world and the world at large. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.